The crowd buzzed with excitement as the cameras panned across the packed auditorium of America's Got Talent. Bright lights, hopeful faces, and the familiar anticipation of something extraordinary filled the air. When the next contestant's name was announced, few in the audience expected much. After all, it was just a small girl, only 9 years old, walking timidly onto the stage. But in that moment, the world was about to witness something unforgettable. Her name was Isabella Cruz, a shy, soft-spoken Filipino girl from Manila. Her big brown eyes shimmered under the stage lights, and her small hands trembled as she held the microphone. She wore a simple yellow dress that her mother had sewn the night before, patched together with love and hope. As she stepped forward, Simon Cowell looked up from his desk, one eyebrow raised. He had seen thousands of singers before, from seasoned professionals to bold amateurs. But this little girl, so tiny, so nervous, seemed almost too fragile for such a huge stage. "Hello, sweetheart," Simon said with his usual calm tone. "What's your name?" "My name is Isabella," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "And where are you from?" "I'm from Manila." "In the Philippines," she replied, shyly tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. The audience let out a collective awe, charmed by her innocence. "And what will you be singing for us today?" Simon asked. "I'll be singing I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston," she answered softly. A small murmur rippled through the crowd. That song was one of the hardest in the world to sing, even for trained vocalists. Simon leaned back, skeptical but curious. "That's a big song for such a little girl," he said. "Are you sure you want to sing that one?" Isabella nodded. "Yes, sir. It's my mom's favorite song. She used to sing it to me every night when we didn't have electricity during storms back home." That simple statement struck something deep in the hearts of everyone in the room. The crowd fell completely silent as the lights dimmed and the music began. For a few seconds, there was only the soft piano introduction and the sight of a small girl standing beneath a single spotlight. Then Isabella opened her mouth, and magic happened. Her voice didn't just fill the room, it soared. Pure, powerful, and breathtakingly emotional, it echoed through the hall like something divine. The judges' expressions changed instantly. Heidi covered her mouth in disbelief. Howie leaned forward, eyes wide, and Simon, the famously unshakable critic, froze, stunned by what he was hearing. The little girl sang as though her soul itself had taken flight. Her high notes were crisp, her emotion raw, her delivery effortless. But more than the technical perfection, it was the feeling in her voice that moved everyone. You could hear years of quiet struggle, the weight of humble beginnings, and a deep love that transcended everything. By the time she reached the final chorus, tears streamed down faces across the audience. Even the cameramen were visibly shaken. And as she hit the last sky-high note, holding it flawlessly until the music faded, the entire room erupted. The audience leapt to their feet in thunderous applause, chanting her name. Isabella blinked in disbelief. For a moment she stood frozen, unsure what to do as the applause washed over her like a wave. Then she smiled, the pure, unfiltered smile of a child who had just turned her dream into reality. Simon Cowell stood up. That almost never happened. The audience roared even louder as he pressed the golden buzzer. Gold confetti burst into the air, cascading around Isabella like a shower of dreams. Her mother, standing backstage, dropped to her knees, weeping uncontrollably. As Simon walked onto the stage to hug the girl, he said into the mic, "You just reminded everyone in this room what music is supposed to do. It's supposed to touch the soul." That was incredible. The judges surrounded her with praise. "You have a gift," Sofia Vergara said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Not just a voice, but a heart that speaks through every note." Howie added, "You're only 9, but you sing like you've lived a lifetime. You didn't just perform, you felt every word." Isabella's mother soon joined her on stage. She hugged her daughter tightly as Simon leaned in and said, "You should be very proud. You raised an angel." Later that night, after all the noise had faded and the cameras had stopped rolling, Isabella sat quietly with her mom outside the studio, looking up at the stars. "Mama," she said softly, "do you think Papa heard me sing tonight?" Her mother smiled through tears. "Yes, sweetheart. I think he heard you from heaven, and I think he's smiling." The next day, the video of her performance went viral. Millions of people around the world watched the little Filipino girl who sang her heart out. Comments poured in from everywhere, from soldiers overseas, nurses on night shifts, and parents tucking their children into bed. all saying the same thing. Her song made them feel something real again. News outlets shared her story, calling her the voice of hope. But what many didn't know was the journey that led her there. Isabella had grown up in one of the poorest districts of Manila. Her father, a jeepney driver, had passed away when she was 6. Her mother, a schoolteacher, worked tirelessly to keep their small family afloat. Every night, Isabella would help her mom grade papers under the flicker of a single candle because the power would often go out. And during those dark nights, her mother would sing softly to her, songs of love, faith, and courage. Music became Isabella's escape, her secret world. When she wasn't helping her mom, she would sing to stray cats in the alley or to the waves crashing near the shore. Her voice became her prayer, her way of healing. One day, a neighbor filmed her singing and uploaded it online. It reached a local talent scout who arranged her. Audition for America's Got Talent. They sold old clothes and borrowed money to afford the trip to Los Angeles. Her mother told her before boarding the plane, "Don't sing to win, anak. Sing to make people feel loved." And that's exactly what she did. Weeks after the audition aired, Isabella and her mother returned home to Manila. But something had changed. Their small community, once filled with weary faces and quiet struggle, began to buzz with hope. Kids who once doubted their dreams started to sing again, inspired by the little girl from their neighborhood who had made the world listen. One afternoon, as Isabella and her mother walked through the market, an old man stopped them. "Are you the little girl who sang on television?" he asked. When Isabella nodded shyly, he smiled and said, "You made me remember my daughter. She used to sing like that before she got sick. Thank you for bringing joy back to an old man's heart." It was in that moment Isabella understood that her music wasn't just about fame or success. It was about healing hearts, even ones she had never met. Months later, she returned to the AGT stage for the semifinals. This time, she sang an original song she wrote for her father, titled, "I'll Sing You Home." The lyrics spoke of longing, love, and the belief that those we lose never truly leave us. By the end, the judges and audience were once again in tears. Simon called it one of the most beautiful performances ever on the show. Isabella didn't win the competition, but that didn't matter. What she won was far greater: the love of millions, the pride of her country, and the realization that one small voice can echo across the world. Back in Manila, Isabella continued to sing, not on big stages or under bright lights, but in hospitals, orphanages, and schools. She sang for children who were sick, for families who had lost everything in floods, for people who needed a reminder that beauty still existed in the world. Her mother often watched from the side, smiling through tears, knowing that her daughter's music was doing exactly what it was meant to, spreading kindness and light. And whenever Isabella felt nervous before singing, she would remember Simon's words, "Music is supposed to touch the soul." Years later, long after the confetti had faded and the applause had quieted, that little girl from Manila would still be remembered, not just for her huge voice, but for her even bigger heart. Because sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest power to heal the world.